Morning, Janice.
Morning, Anthony.
Today, let's talk about why you should use a personal property memorandum to bequeath your stuff. And I say stuff because this is specific to physical things that you want to give, not bank accounts or stocks or things like that. Yeah.
Your actual stuff. Yes.
So many people make this mistake with personal property in their will. And what they do is they include a long laundry list of the tiniest items. I hate to say tiniest because it obviously means something to them.
Sure.
But, there's just this really long list of things in their official legal document, expensive will. So we're going to discuss why this can kind of be a problem and what you should do instead. Janice, you've seen this as well, yeah?
Oh, yes, many times. Yes. With the like you said, it's important to them. It's really small and, well, as we'll talk about, leads to some headaches.
But don't worry, there's ways to deal with it that just doesn't create those headaches. So let's get started. So first, we'll talk about the sort of items you should list or leave in your will. The sort of the personal property items that you should leave in your will. Again, this is very common. And before I go into the list of items, the reason it can be problematic is because here are the couple of reasons. Number one, we've done this before. We've been down this path many times, so we know that these lists change frequently.
Yes.
Either the items change, meaning the brooch that you wanted to give to your niece. Oh, you actually gifted that to your friend during your lifetime because she said something nice, and now you have this thing in your will that you don't own anymore, right? Or you just change who you want to receive what. So those are changes that happen actually a lot more frequently than you would imagine. And as you can imagine, doing constant updates to your will for who gets the cutlery could be very expensive.
Yeah. Outweighs the value of the cutlery, I would imagine, in some cases.
I mean, it could be really nice cutlery. Who knows?
True. Very true.
And then another problem is when you're dealing with personal property, you have something physical that doesn't have an immediate value attached to it. A bank account, you look at the statement and it says what it's worth. With a stock, with a stock, you just Google the stock symbol, ticker symbol. You know what it's worth. Pretty close. When you're talking about jewelry, art, and then even worse, sentimental items, it's really hard to put a value on those. And this can lead to problems for your executor and for your heirs kind of squibbling amongst each other. Yeah?
Yep.
All right. So circling back to the list of things that it does make sense to leave, the list of personal property items it does make sense to leave by will. Let's start with a car, right? There's kind of two sides to this one, Janice, because if it's a classic car that's mint,
sure,
it's clearly an asset, then this is something large that really should be covered in your will.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the phrase, Janice? The daily driver or the
yes,
what
the
is
grocery getter.
I'm sorry, what is it?
The daily driver, your grocery getter, your mall crawler. Like
I haven't heard those ones.
It's your everyday just get in the car and go somewhere vehicle. Yeah.
I didn't know we were at this stage of American wealth where you could have your good car and your bad car, but apparently that's where we are.
You can.
But so your mall crawler, you really don't need to put that in your will because it's probably going to get beat up and replaced well before you pass away, right?
Right.
So, but again, you're a classic. I'm not a car guy, but Shelby, blah, 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 Mustang. I really don't, that one you might want to have in the will.
Yeah, your 1950s, 1960s mint condition vehicle should definitely be in there, right? Yeah.
But the Honda Accord that's going to get recycled in a few years, just don't bother.
Leave it. Okay.
Next, make sure you leave big jewelry items in your will. Or not make sure, but it's okay to. I mean, these are the things that you would want to pay a GIA or whatever appraisal to make sure, it's of that substantive or it's of that value. And then, it makes sense to be in your actual legal document of a will. Same goes for art. I don't mean, this one's great. We've dealt with this before, Janice. I mean, there's a threshold before it's like not worth dealing with the appraisals and the auctioning. Do you agree with that?
Definitely. It's very expensive to have it appraised and send it to auction. And we when we had this last time, we had to sit down with a spreadsheet and say, well, what's the cost benefit here of evaluating all of this, putting it to auction, housing it, right? Because you have to put it somewhere.
Gotta store it.
By the time you add all that up and your return value, is it more or less? Significantly more, maybe less? That's tough. Art is tough.
In that case, I believe we actually ended up donating some of the art pieces, so that just ended up being just worth more than, or at least more felt better than auctioning it off and getting like 20 cents on the dollar.
Correct. Yeah. It was some of the pieces were given away, and definitely a feel good as opposed to the dumpster. Which is the unfortunate reality on sometimes with art and the climate we're in. Right. Sometimes we're in a world where art's going for a pretty penny, and then, last year, maybe not so much.
And then this thing, wow, total tangent, and the art world is changing, and now you have NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and okay, I won't make this a crypto one, I promise. So the last thing that you might want to consider putting in your official legal document will are collectibles. This one is also a little gray. If you had this Beanie Baby collection, at the time it might have felt like really important to put in your will. Are those still like trading well? Do you know? I'm acting like you're a Beanie Baby expert or something.
I'm like, wait, no. But you know what I've heard lately is the Pokemon cards are coming back. Okay. Like Pokemon and baseball. Baseball cards will always be there, but Pokemon cards now are making this huge I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen one, but yeah.
Same analysis as with the art that we talked about before. I didn't know that baseball cards were still trading at a high level.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we had an estate with I think it was a Derek Jeter rookie, and that was a 6-figure card. I was like, whoa, people still pay 6 figures for these little pieces of cardboard? Yeah, apparently they do. But then, if you have a beat-up just pack of tops, that might not be worth anything.
And their bubble gum, what is it? They used to put in the bubble gum or the whatever wrapper. Yeah. So
again, there is a sort of level that you need to suss out. Like, is it worth it? Does it exceed the threshold value to make it worth, being dealt with under your will?
Right. But I would imagine when you say collectibles, you mean like artifacts or something that's definitely, really valuable. Maybe could even belong in a museum. That would be pretty tangible and, worth it.
Okay. So next, let's shift to the personal property that you should probably never put in your will. So again, we just went over how you should really only focus on things that have, significant value, where it would be worth paying for an appraisal, where appraisals usually cost several $100s. So, in order to make the cost of an appraisal worth it, the underlying item needs to be worth probably several thousand, if not tens of thousands. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, just when you factor in, our time to find out how to, find the appraisal and everything else, you're looking at, a value difference there.
Or alternatively, it needs to be an item that is easily agreed upon on the price, like a car with a Kelley Blue Book value.
Correct.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And then lastly, it needs to be something that you're likely to still own when you pass, not something that's going to be used, gifted, or et cetera. So the list of things that probably don't meet those criteria: furniture. We get this all the time. People love putting furniture in their wills. Your furniture is probably not that nice.
Yeah. Probably not.
So there's like a lot of problems with furniture. Number one, kind of nobody wants it. That's just, do you know anyone who's like, oh, cool, let me get that armoire or bureau?
The 400-pound armoire that you have to take down 4 flights of stairs.
That was my next issue, that there's a huge logistical cost to furniture.
Yeah. Which we've run into. Here's an example: pianos.
Oh my gosh, pianos!
Right, we're running into that. When you buy it, it's exciting and you have it, but right now we can't even get rid of them. Like you can't.
Yeah, as executor, we end up paying quite a lot to deal with these pianos.
Yeah, paying someone to come take it. We can't even give it away.
Yep. Then we also have. Sorry to beat up on furniture. I know your furniture is probably lovely and comfortable and you like it, but I'm just saying. Your heirs really just most often don't want it. They have furniture. They haven't been sitting on the floor waiting for furniture to be inherited to them.
Build their whole house, right? Right. And then you end up with 2 kitchen tables, 2 end tables, and, and someone who lives in Manhattan, where are you going to put all that furniture?
So then next we have smaller items of jewelry, and I don't mean all the way down to costume jewelry. There is this tier between costume jewelry and estate jewelry, where it's worth something for sure, but it's it might be not worth appraising. It might cause trouble trying to divide it up. Like, what do you give one earring to each person? Because people do that all the time.
Right.
I give my diamond earrings to Bob and Julie. Like, what does that mean? They each get one? Anyway, and lastly, clothes. Oh man, this one.
Oh, goodness.
Okay, so a mink coat, right? I get that.
Oh, okay,
right?
Sure.
But most people don't want your clothes.
No. Heck, I don't know about you, but I don't even want half the clothes I own myself that are in my closet, right? Let alone to leave to somebody else.
So I'm not saying that people, okay, I've been kind of joking around that people don't want it. But aside from that, it's not, because of the reasons we discussed, it's not worth putting all this additional headache and cost in preparing your will and then later on for your executor and his attorney for these items. And again, they're not. It's not that they're unimportant, because we're going to talk about you can deal with them in a better way, which we'll talk about right now, actually. Okay. So again, enough joking, because this is important to our friends.
Yes. Yes.
So instead of putting all this stuff in your will, for the items that we kind of listed, use a personal property memorandum instead, and I'll explain what that is. So this is just a memo. It's a separate document. It is not part of your will. And therefore, it doesn't incur all the cost and formality of creating and updating, just like your will would be. Every time you change your will, it's expensive. I mean, people don't quite. I need to sort of maybe address that underlying assumption. Updating your will costs almost as much as doing your will.
Yes, absolutely.
Because of the amount of the review involved. And the technical formalities of the signing, getting the witnesses lined up, making sure the attorney is present to make sure it all gets done properly, that alone is like more than half the cost of your will. So the simplest update, changing one name, it's gonna cost you. So let's try to avoid that. I'm here to try to help you avoid that cost.
Yes, yeah.
So an important distinction, however, is that the personal property memorandum is non-binding. It is not legally binding on your executor. If that seems scary, remember, when you choose your executor, you're choosing someone who you trust, who probably knows you, or at least knows your wishes, and wants, even if not legally binding, to carry out your wishes to the best of his or her ability. So even though it's not technically legally binding, I haven't really seen any instances where the executor is like, pish posh, I'm just going to ignore that. They do their very best.
No.
Yeah, but what you're doing by making it non-legally binding is you're giving them the flexibility to make decisions that, hey, this is not worth the cost, and it's going to cause problems. The family's going to be upset. It's going to make this person fight with that person. Let me just deal with that a slightly different way. You're giving that flexibility by making it non-legally binding.
The flexibility and the cost benefit, right? I think that's what all of this comes down to, is the cost benefit for these items.
Yep. And then I think I've beaten this like a dead horse, but it's easier to update. You don't have to spend for a lawyer. You can actually just it could be a Word document that you just print and update every time you want, and then send a copy to your attorney and say, hey, stick this in with the will. This is the new one. It's that easy. You don't have to pay. It's so much better than having to do the witnesses and all that every time you want to make a change.
Very, very interesting. I think that, like you said, we laugh because, it's some of the stuff is funny with the clothes and stuff, but it is this cost benefit in the long run for your executor and the extra headaches. And, are you going to go through a legal process for an item of clothes? Right. Yeah. So, well, if you want to learn more, check out, actually, you can get a free copy of Anthony's book, The Solo Ager Estate Plan. There'll be a link, I believe, in the comments, and you can get it on the website.
Perfect. And I think that's it. Hey, everyone, we're this close to having Janice join us on camera. It's been a struggle because of the Wi-Fi and remote learning issues, but I think we have that sorted out. So if in case you've been interested in seeing that, make sure you join the YouTube. In a couple of weeks, we'll hopefully have Janice on so you can put a face to the
more than
voice.
A figment to the imagination, right?
All right. I think that's it. Thank you, Janice. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We'll talk next time.
See everyone soon.
Bye now.